Welcome. I'm here with the customer success team. We have Laura, Ellie, Rana. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Splendid. Sorry.
We're already laughing. We'll see how this goes. So, I thought you might as well first introduce the company and what we do.
We are a gun detection, computer analytics company. We do more than just gun detection, but it's our flagship product. We basically connect to any security camera and make it a smart camera by applying our analytics on top of it, which will detect intruders, loiterers, vehicles, guns in real time and alert customers in the case of a threat.
Yeah, that sums that up very well. And I thought we might as well start about what you do. Ellie, can you talk about what the customer success team does?
Sure. So I joined. I'll give you the history because I was the first customer success at the company. So about a year and a half ago, a little less than that, I joined the company. Before I joined, there were 9 people or 10. On every sales call, there would be Ben would join, the CTO, a salesperson, a data scientist, and engineer. And the goal for me was to create a new team that basically replaced those people on those calls and bridge between the customers and the prospects and the rest of the teams inside the company. So basically, let engineers do their work, data science do their work, and give technical support all the way from what we call sales engineering or pre-sales support, do the onboarding, and then do technical support as well.
That's great, and I know you also do demos, right?
True. So on those initial calls with customers, we also usually give a live demo. We have a few fake weapons in the office that we're using. We sign the customer up for text messages. We walk around with those fake guns in the office, and then they would get a text message on their phone. In addition to walking around with guns, we also show the UI and show the customer how it would look on our UI and what they would see as customers.
Definitely, and I'll just showcase some of the fake guns we have here. I don't know how to hold the gun, but here they are. I'll pass them to Laura, who actually knows this stuff.
So an AK-47, fake. It's all fake. All the weapons we have in the office are fakes. An AR-15. And a pistol.
So I want to go in a little bit to how exactly you connect to the cameras. Like how, if a client says, okay, I have my camera set up, what are the steps to connect? Rana?
Yes, Rana, what's the answer?
So for that, we are going to request the clients to give us a public IP address. We need to have the HTTP port open, the login information, so depending if we are RTSP, sorry. So, yes, RTSP, sorry. Especially
Don't be nervous, it's not live.
especially if we are doing an RTSP integration, and we need to have the login information to the camera as well.
Okay, and is there, how would you log into a camera?
So you take the IP address, and then you do the 2 dots, and then you put the port number, and then you enter it in the address on the internet tab.
The camera has to be on the line.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
So,
And that's how you know if a camera is connected and you can access the settings and everything.
and
But basically, I will just add to this, which was perfect. You got
Almost.
89% your score.
Only 89.
I'm joking.
89, that's a B plus. That's
What?
not perfect.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
oh, I did give you the RSP, right? Can I get some points for it? All right, you get
You're the
95.
boss.
95.
You're the boss.
95. But we like to say that we are system agnostic. So basically, if the camera or camera system is online and has public access or VPN access, we're able to connect to it. As long as we can stream from this camera or from this camera system, we should be able to run AI on it.
Okay, so it just needs to be connected to the internet, so a wire-only camera wouldn't work?
A wire-only camera, if it has access to the internet or if it's connected to a box called encoder, which usually would have internet access. So basically we need to translate whatever the camera is recording into something that we know how to read, which in most cases it's RTSP stream. It's the protocol that allows to stream.
And I know you talked a lot about VMS. A VMS. Can you talk more about that? But what is a VMS?
A VMS is a video management system. It's what our customers use to view all of their cameras, and in some cases they actually get the alerts sent directly to them, and that's where our different types of integrations come into play. So rather than our RTSP generic integration, which will allow us to connect to any camera, we can have a VMS specific integration, which will allow us to connect to the cameras through the VMS, but also like push the alerts directly to the VMS. But yeah, they're just basically like a management system for customers to use.
Is it easier to use an integration than the other way?
We just need different kinds of information for the different types of integrations. So as far as like our work goes, it's pretty much the same for the integrations.
So the answer is it's complicated.
I was whispering to Laura to say depends. So I like using depends. So it depends on what the code allows us. It's so each VMS has what we call either an API or an SDK. So basically it's the code under the hood which allows us to connect with.
Right, and do you deal with this code or do you hand it to another team?
No, that's all engineering.
That's all engineering.
Yeah. In most cases we're dealing with the UI when interfacing with customer systems.
So you're not worried necessarily about bandwidth or anything like that.
We would raise the flag if we have concerns, but we usually not the ones that actually take care of the stuff. Right? I am lying?
No, that's right. Yeah.
I asked if I'm lying and you said yes.
So if you got a 4K camera at 30 frames per second, you'd red flag that?
Yes, that's an overkill for us. So we don't need that. It's too much for us to process.
Okay, and we talked about that. So what hardware needs to be in a camera for it to be able to connect to the internet?
It's not necessarily on the camera. As long as either the camera can connect to the internet either by a SIM card or by Wi-Fi, that should work. And another option is if the camera is connected to a VMS or an NVR, and then those systems will have the internet access.
Yeah, but we don't require any hardware to be installed for our analytics. This is just for the camera to connect to the internet in general.
Right, and most cameras have these capabilities?
These days, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you explain what is an IP address?
An IP address is a suite of different numbers that actually helps you to locate you and also to identify you on the computer network.
So if I have someone's IP address, I can tell her location.
Yes.
In a way.
In a way, you can know the identity of that person who works on the IP and the location.
It's basically like their home address on the internet.
Yeah.
You guys make me so proud. I'm so excited.
We have
So proud.
such skilled people here. Such skilled people here with computers and everything. So I'm sure you run into issues. How do you troubleshoot?
Should I answer that? Because I think that
Sure.
so out of our 3 people here, I'm the last one who got hired, and I know that I would bug Ellie and Laura to ask the question, how do we troubleshoot? So I would say that one thing, it is the very obvious, is to go on the overview page that we have, which is a one-pager that shows the state of the cameras. So you would first see if the camera is connected or not. I would say that's the first thing to do. And then checking the logs to see if we lost connectivity or if we have any error message, and from there is try to see what's going on the background. But yeah,
Why might you lose connectivity with the camera?
could be if the client loses internet like on site for any reason, there's like an interruption. Could be maybe like a bandwidth issue sometimes. What else could it be? Could be so many things, to be honest.
Yeah, like a customer might not have a static IP, and then if the IP changes, then we don't have the right information, so we can't connect. Or if they change the way that the ports are forwarded, so we lose access to the RTSP ports that we need.
Can have broken frames.
Yeah.
And do you help them figure this out if it's on their end, or do you just leave them to figure that out for themselves?
No, we do everything we can to figure out.
In a consultant, how do you say it in English? Consultative way?
Yeah. So we check everything on our end to make sure everything is working properly, and then if we've confirmed that everything is working on our end and it's a customer issue, then we tell them what we think the issue is and consult them on how we think that they need to solve the problem to regain the connection.
My work here is done.
So you talked about a DVR. So I was doing some research beforehand, and I found the terms NVR and DVR. What are the two, and what's the difference between them?
A DVR is a digital video recorder, while an NVR is a network video recorder. They both basically have all of the cameras connected to them to keep everything on one central network, but a NVR is already connected to an internet. A DVR is an older device that it can be have an internet connection already, but it doesn't like inherently have a way to access the internet.
It's like in a box.
Yeah, like analog versus IP cameras is like the same as like DVR versus NVR.
Okay, so you can connect to all NVR cameras, but not all DVR.
So yeah, we can connect to NVRs. The cameras are connected to the NVR, so we can connect to the cameras through it. And we can connect to some DVRs if they have internet access or have an encoder that allow them to connect to the internet.
But what does your work week look like?
Me, I don't do anything.
He's actually the one doing most of everything. So I check his calendar pretty often. So
You're on the record, you know that.
yeah. So our boss has a lot of one-on-one meetings with internally here. I would say maybe one weekly meeting with everyone in the company. He has a lot of meetings with clients.
I say we.
Yeah, prospects.
We.
Well, yes, we.
As a team.
That's true. And we all have emails coming in from clients for support, troubleshooting, asking questions, and obviously helping the salespeople with their clients.
Yeah, our team is very dynamic, so there's no one day that looks like another. So we split our time between meeting with prospects, trying to help the sales team sell, to incoming emails for technical issues, or weekly calls with clients, or weekly syncs with clients, to work on issues or upsell or anything of that nature.
So you seem to be in a lot of meetings. How many hours of meetings would you say you have on average daily?
Well, I'm the busiest, unfortunately, because I have some managers meetings and stuff like that. I would say half of my week I'm probably on meetings, at least.
How about you, Laura?
I'm usually really responding to like customer incidents and like running like investigations. So I'm in meetings less, but I'll be in like the weekly syncs. So a few hours a week spent with current customers, but mostly just responding to emails.
And you?
Same as Laura.
So you seem to work a lot with other departments. So do you have one-on-one meetings with them too?
Yes.
With data science too?
I don't think so. So we work a lot with engineering and data science. It's a little different because we work them every day, all the time. So it's more communicating on Slack channels, less on emails, more on Slack channels, and just making sure that we communicate, and tickets if it's coming that comes from a client. So with them, it's an ongoing communication, where with the sales team, it's more of a one-on-ones if needed, or weekly syncs.
What methods do you use to communicate with the customers?
So with customers, it will be mostly emails and phone calls. So usually emails, just to make sure that we have everything documented. So we would send summaries for incidents or meeting summaries on emails, where we would actually discuss those on phone calls, usually on Zoom, Zoom or Google Meet, or any of those different types of meetings.
And Brian talked in the last interview. He talked about how with some companies you have meetings every week. Is this just with the larger companies or with all the companies?
So you offer the service for a weekly sync or async of any type to any customer, any signed customer, or prospects. And usually we let them choose between a weekly meeting, a bi-weekly meeting, or a monthly, depends on them. And again, the length of the meeting is also depending on the customers. We have some customers that has a bi-weekly 15 minutes, and then we have customers that has an hourly weekly meeting. So it all depends on what their needs are.
Unfortunately, Ellie had to leave. It's 3 o'clock. You have to leave for a meeting. But so we just have the two of you now, but we got through a large chunk of the interview. Where do false positives occur, and when do they occur?
So it depends on the type of analytic, but for intruder detection, for example, the biggest false positives would be just like various objects, like a tree or like a closed umbrella. If they have like, if there's motion on the camera, then those things could get flagged as intruders because they like have shapes somewhat similar to what the model is expecting to be an intruder. So like a tree swaying in the wind, the branch could look like someone's arm. Those don't happen that often, and when they do, we're usually able to fine-tune the model to prevent them. But that's probably where the majority of those false positives are coming from. They're increased in weather like the rain, because as I mentioned, it's pretty motion dependent. So when we're getting more motion happening, we're naturally going to have more false positives. But for something like gun detection, then like a stapler or like a cell phone being like held in a way that's similar to a gun, those are the most common sources of false positives for gun detection. Whereas something like vehicle loitering, we are going to have the most false positives on parked cars because it's a stationary vehicle. So, but that's where our unique ignore zones by label are really helpful, because instead of just saying in this entire area we don't want to run any analytics over it, we're able to actually separate the different detection types. So we can say, I want to know if a person walks through this area, but I don't want to get alerted when a vehicle is parked here.
And I remember that in terms of false positives, during the Ajay Zach interview, which was maybe a month ago, I think, we talked about how the AI doesn't really see the context of the image. We only look at really the person. So if you zoom in, you lose the context, zoom out. So if you zoom in, even a person might think that could look like a gun or something else. What was your favorite part of your job? Well, what is? What is?
To be honest, and it's gonna sound like a little bit cheesy, but I love working with Laura and Ellie. It's super fun. I love the fact that I have a very cool boss that is funny. And the other part is I love to be able to speak with different people in a day, have different type of interaction, and whenever we help a client and we know that they are succeeding because we were able to help, that's a great feeling. So that's what I value the most about my job.
Yeah. I also really enjoy working with everyone. It's really nice how supportive everyone is, and there really are like no stupid questions, even just like between all of us. And I feel like I really like learn a lot by working here, between different like building out the whole UI from the engineering team, and like learning about like how the model works from the data science team. It's all just like really interesting. I feel like I'm learning something new every day.
Same.
That's awesome. I would say I feel the same way. I also appreciate having an excellent CO and excellent coworkers. It's been amazing interning here. I've been here for 2 months, for those that don't know. Alright, it's great meeting with you.